Hi and welcome back to the Nordic Watch channel. I'm Anders from Finland, and in this video I'm reviewing the watch that's nicknamed the Orient Mako 40, reference number RA-AC0Q01B. It's a relatively new release that adds on to Orient's selection of sports watches with a more modestly sized dive style watch. Starting off, I want to let you know that this watch is gifted to me by Grove Communications, who represent Orient Europe. I have, however, full freedom in what to tell you about this watch as usual, but I want to be transparent about that fact. Big thanks to Grove Communication and Orient Europe for believing in this product and sending it to me for review. In this video, you'll get a review of the watch and also see how it looks on several different straps, such as leather, rubber and nylon straps. I'll also include some size comparisons with other watch models so you get a good idea about the size. This Orient Mako 40 could be called a heritage release, since it draws obvious influence from the Orient Star Olympia calendar diver from 1964, a model that was also recently re-released as a modernized version a couple of years ago in the Orient Star 1964. On this Mako 40 model's initial release, there was some controversy regarding quite a significant printing or alignment mistake on the chapter ring. Orient has since fixed this problem, just to be clear about that. At the time of recording, this model has been released in 5 different color variations. There's a blue dial, a white dial and black dial versions on metal bracelets, and also salmon and purple or lavender dialed ones on a leather strap. At this moment, this Orient Mako 40 retails for around 350 euros or US dollars, and it can be found on Amazon for just under 300, which seems to be quite a good deal actually. I've included Amazon affiliate links in the description below if you end up wanting to get one. That's a great way to help my channel out without paying anything extra for it. This Orient Mako 40 comes in a more compact size than earlier Mako, RA and Kamasu models. The diameter is only 39.9 mm with a 46.5 mm lug to lug. The thickness is 12.8 mm and the lug width is 20 mm. Not only are the dimensions smaller than on the earlier Orient dive style watches, but there are also other design elements that contribute to this watch looking a lot more sleek than the earlier ones. For starters, Orient chose to not have crown guards on this one, which makes it look smaller and also gives a distinct vintage skin diver look to it. Another factor is the stainless steel bezel, which blends in with the case. This makes the already small dial look even smaller in proportion to the case bezel combination, which looks like one big mass of stainless steel because of the matching colors of the bezel and the case. The case shape is pretty basic in itself, nothing out of the ordinary really. The sides are polished and the lugs are brushed, and then there's a nice basic chamfer in between. The screw-down crown has the Orient logo on it and it's easy to grip and operate. It's also not wobbly like some of the older Orient crowns I've tried on this channel. The stainless steel bezel is finished with circular brushing and engraved details that are painted black. Outside of the brushed area of the bezel, the gripping surface is then again polished, giving a nice contrast between the two surfaces. As you can see, the bezel's gripping surface doesn't protrude at all from the case, making it a little bit difficult to turn. Luckily, it has the classic Orient indentations with 10-minute intervals, as well as smaller ones along the entire side. It's a 120 click unidirectional bezel. The one on this one is quite stiff to turn actually, partly due to not protruding from the case and being difficult to grip, but also this one just seems to be a bit on the stiff side. The sound is quite subdued and sleek as a result from the kind of stiff action. There's no lume pip on the timing marker, which is a bit odd and surprising. But then again, this is not a certified dive watch, so it's not a requirement either. The case back is quite a simple one with a familiar etched twin dolphin logo you might have seen before on Orient dive style watches such as the RA-AC, Makos and Kamasu models. I've certainly showed them on this channel. And also I've said before that it's nothing exciting, just a basic screw down case back with some etching, and I do wish that Orient would start to use something cooler on their case back, as this one is just a bit underwhelming. With 3 links removed, the weight is 150 grams, and with all the links it's 165 grams. The watch is water resistant to 200 meters, which makes it a great all-rounder and you don't need to worry about getting it wet. The watch runs on Orient's in-house caliber F6722 automatic movement. This is a solid workhorse movement with decent specs as seen on the screen here, especially given the price point. It's quite compatible with the Seiko 4R35 movement. This movement also comes with a quiet bidirectional winding rotor, which is always a big plus in my books. It makes it more quiet on the wrist and also more efficient at winding. Other than that, the hand winding is a little bit gritty feeling and sounding. I really have nothing else bad to say about this movement. All in all, for the price, it's really nice. The sleek and timeless black dial is protected by a flat sapphire crystal. The black color variant I have here is a very subtle grainy texture, and it also has a very subtle sunburst effect in certain lightings. And also in certain lightings there's a hint of brown color in there somewhere, it seems, at least when you look at the sunburst effect. The applied white markers pop with significant contrast with regards to the dial color, trapezoid markers at the 6, 9 and 12 and rectangular ones on the rest of them. A simple but elegant framed date window at the 3 o'clock with a beveled edge is a nice touch. The earlier Kamasu, Mako and RA models all have date windows, and I think Orient made an excellent choice to simplify this smaller dial by leaving the day out. It really helps keep the dial more symmetrical and proportioned, and also the white date wheel is a good choice in this case to make it match the other indices more than a dark one would. I also like the framing of it. It makes it match the indices more than a simple cutout would. The hour and minute hands are semi-skeletonized with the loomed parts matching the indices beautifully. I really like this choice of hands for this dial. No big arrows, etc. Everything is just very proportionate and cleaned while still being easy to tell apart from each other. I also like the finishing on the skeletonized hands, making them pop out when the light catches them and partly disappear in some lightings. Always anyways kept visible enough by those contrasting loomed parts of the hands. I also like the small pop of color on the second hand, which also has a small loom pip in the middle of the arrow. Thanks to otherwise subdued features on the dial, I also feel that the Orient logo feels less intrusive on this dial than on all the other Orients I've reviewed on this channel. Honestly, I feel that Orient really hit a home run with this design. I absolutely love it. And there's not really anything I'd change about it in this particular dial and bezel combination. Or actually I would change one thing. The loom on the markers and hands could be a lot better. I'm actually quite surprised by how weak it is. Usually Orient does a good job with loom, and this is a significant step down from what I'm used to, if you compare to, for example, the Kamasu. Many might also point out that it's a problem that it doesn't have a loom pip on the bezel. Sure, some people will dislike that, but I don't really find that to be that problematic. It's a dive-styled watch, not a diver's watch, and how often do you actually need to time something in pitch black darkness relying on the loom? Yeah, me neither. I get the fact that it's a form of cost cutting, yes, but you still get a great amount of value for your money in this package. Now moving on to the bracelet. Spoiler alert, it's by far the biggest negative with this watch. It's basically the same bracelet as the Mako's, RA-AC and Kamasu's, but in a smaller 20mm size. The links are solid with brushing on top and bottom and polishing on the sides. And they're held together with push pins, which is great. It makes it really easy to size. You can find a video of mine on how to adjust a bracelet like this up there, and I'll also include a link in the description below. The end links are hollow and there's a slight gap between them and the lugs, as you can see. The female end links help the bracelet wrap around the wrist nicely, which makes this an even better watch for smaller wrists. The very basic clasp is stamped and has a good amount of positions for micro adjustments, which is a big plus. There's also some Orient branding on there, as you can see, and also a nice beveled edge on the clasp, which makes it match the case finishing nicely. Nice detail. Otherwise the bracelet's fine, but I have always disliked the fact that there's no tapering on the basic Orient bracelet like this one. It makes it very bulky, and especially with this rather small sized watch, it's just overwhelmingly bulky in comparison. It looks fine on the wrist when viewed from above, but now when I show you a wrist roll, I'm sure you get my point. It would really make a big difference if the bracelet would taper, like for example the bracelet on this Seiko SPB143 I recently reviewed on the channel. I hope that there will be a nice and affordable third-party bracelet with tapering available, because that will really be the icing on the cake for this watch. But at this moment I don't have that, so I'm showing you how it works on different kinds of straps in addition to the metal bracelet. Naturally, a rubber strap is a great match for a dive style watch. Here are some I got from CNS Watch Bands. The smaller case size and hugging shape of the case makes this a super comfortable option for the Orient Mako 40. The same goes to say for leather straps. This looks better on leather straps than many divers I've tried them on before. That's probably mainly just because of my wrist being so small, so this smaller case makes it a better fit, since you can see more of the straps next to the case. Another safe option for a watch like this with such tool watch characteristics are so-called NATO straps or nylon straps. These are also from CNS Watch Bands. They have a great selection of affordable straps on their site. I'll leave a link in the description below. I don't earn anything from it, but they're just a brand that I have used ever since I've gotten into watches, and lately I've also received free straps from them, and I can warmly recommend them. Traditional NATO straps like this maybe make the watch sit a little bit high on the wrist, so a single pass strap might be a better option. You can also check out my tutorial on how to wear NATO straps smaller on the wrist sometimes. I'll leave a link in the description. Now, as promised, also I'll show you some size comparisons with other watches just to give you a good idea on how this watch will sit on your wrist. Here the watch is side by side with a Seiko SKX, which is universally known model, so that's why I'm including that. As you can see, it's significantly smaller than an SKX. Next up, also the recently reviewed Seiko SPB143, which is already a nice watch for a smaller wrist, and as you can see, this Orient wears slightly smaller than the Seiko also, which makes this even better watch for smaller wrists. And last but not least, here it is compared to my Sinn 556A. And I think that this is a pretty good comparison size-wise. If you like how a Sinn 556 wears on the wrist, then I think you will like this Orient Mako 40. The Sinn is 38.5 millimeters in diameter, and this Mako is 39.9. But because of the smallness of the dial, in comparison to the bezel and the case, all made of stainless steel, which makes the dial look even smaller, I think it wears quite similarly size-wise to the Sinn. Of course the thickness is larger than on the Sinn, but that's of course something to be expected with a dive style watch. That's about all I have about this watch for you. In a nutshell, for 300 or 350 euros or US dollars, you get a very solid dive style watch, water resistant to 200 meters, sapphire crystal, very elegant and timeless design on the dial with a great handset to match it, and decent workhorse movement also. Only negatives actually the bracelet, which is a bit too bulky for my taste, and a little bit maybe poor lume. But otherwise a very, very solid dive style watch especially for smaller wrists like mine. My wrist is 6.5 inches in circumference, and I think that this is pretty much the perfect sized diver for it. It's not too small, but it's significantly smaller than most divers out there. And also, as you saw, it's a great watch to combine with different kinds of straps. So if you're getting this as one of your only watches, you will be able to wear it in many different combinations and wear it for several different occasions and always look on point. Anyways, that's all I had for this watch, and I hope you found this video useful. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. And also, as I mentioned, affiliate links to Amazon in the description below. Also check out CNS Watch Bands and Orient Europe. If you found this video useful, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy this content. And I'll see you in a future video. Bye bye.